Hey, Andy, can you hear me?
Yeah, Terry, yes, I can hear myself.
You're echoing. Is that on your end too?
That's intentional.
Okay, well done.
Yeah. It was intentional.
Well, the chair of the I&O committee can be the president, or you guys can elect if you had a quorum present. How many committee members are there, Stephanie? 5, and we have all 5. Wow.
Yay.
All right.
I am ex officio, so it's probably that's in the chair of
Chair.
the group.
Okay, anybody be the chair?
Let's go.
Al?
What?
You nominated as chair?
Oh, I don't care. Fine. Okay, but if you want, because I was last year too, so let's call the meeting to order for the Information and Outreach Committee.
Thank you, Director Vandenbrink.
I'll pass it over to the staff to inform us of what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Madam President. And welcome to the bright and early Information and Outreach Committee meeting of 2023. This is our team's second round doing this, so it's great to be back for a second go and to kind of look back a little bit at things we've accomplished in 2022 and what the team has been doing in terms of strategic communications planning for the coming year. So we have a quick presentation that kind of outlines what we have in our I&O committee memo that hopefully you all were able to access and take a look at. And we'll jump right in.
Need some water on the board.
That's working earlier. There, oh, there we go. All right. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So first of all, we just, in our new 2023 communication strategic plan, we set a pretty broad goal that just kind of encompasses what we at the external affairs team are aiming to do in and out of every day, which essentially is making sure we effectively communicate and engage with all our constituents across the River District and all 15 counties, that we're reaching Front Range residents who use Colorado River water, and that we are also connecting with all decision makers at every level of government as we work and do our jobs in our day-to-day. And beyond that broad goal, we have some communication objectives based on category. So generally, again, we really want to make sure that our communications are reaching all of our constituents. And we know that there are areas across our district where we're not reaching certain demographics still, and we've done some good work in the last year to improve that, especially on social media. Lindsay has been monitoring a lot of where we're sending our geo-targeted social media posts. And so we're looking to see where we have fewer followers on those platforms. And then also getting out in the district. We have obviously our upcoming State of the River outreach season, but just making sure that we're using all tools available to reach all demographics within our district. And make sure we're serving everyone, as is our mission. We want to make sure we're highlighting the long-term threats to West Slope water for our constituents in our development of messaging, while also reinforcing our role that we're a watchdog for our constituents and an advocate for their water. We want to elevate the voices of West Slope water users, and the community funding partnership has been an excellent tool for that. We've been working closely with the CSP team, and we'll go into that a little bit later in the presentation about how exactly we've been working with them to strategically elevate those voices of our constituents that are really innovators and adapting to this hotter, drier reality that we're living in. And then we also want to make sure that our constituents are talking to each other, that we're helping to facilitate peer-to-peer engagement and knowledge sharing. And again, the community funding partnership and some of our communications and outreach collaborations that we'll dig into again towards the end of this presentation are really going to highlight that in the coming year. And then enhancing awareness of those greater Colorado River Basin issues as as things heat up in the larger river arena, making sure that everyone who uses Colorado River water consumptively, including and especially those, front range diverters and out of basin users are aware of what's going on. So targeting those front range audiences, once again, we did have some success in the last year with some strategic press releases that we sent out when temperatures heated up and fish were dying over on this side of the divide. Definitely got under the skin of a few folks on the front range, just pointing out that they weren't helping the situation and had a lot more that they could take action and do on that front. So making sure that both diverters and their constituents know what's happening on this side of the divide and in the big river picture. On the media front, we've developed a pretty great relationship with some key members of the press, and we're going to continue to work on expanding our list of key press and press outlets that we'll work with. We're also going to work on setting up more regular check-ins with editorial boards and lead reporters, where those stars within the media and people who are really on the beat are coming out. And so developing those relationships intentionally and making sure that we're able to leverage everything we can in terms of using our megaphone and having press echo what we want them to say. Increasing our engagement with reporters as well from the side of all three of us. Andy obviously has been in high demand this last however many years now, since in his 5 years here at the district. But especially in the last year, we noticed calls for him to come and give presentations and speak have been on the rise in a big way. And so we want to make sure that he has the capacity to do what he needs to do as general manager and doesn't have to respond to every reporter inquiry and call. So we're working on having the three of us as the EA team take a little bit of that off of his shoulders. And then leveraging our media opportunities. There's a lot that we can be doing more of to make sure that we take advantage of the opportunities for media to see what we're doing on the ground, to see that we're walking the talk as we're advancing our goals for the River District. Outreach and events objectives. We want to definitely build on the successes that we had in 2022. Our first full year here as the CA team, we had a record number of State of the River events last spring. We had 11. We also had record attendance at both State of the River, our State of the River series and the annual water seminar last fall. We definitely want to leverage that and make sure that we're building off of those successes and keep expanding on that and keep reaching more people and engage with the people who turned out last year and then hopefully get even more engagement from those who didn't. So working on building off of those events, helping with the promotion and execution of different interbasin tours, the tours that happened last year where certain lower basin water representatives came up and Andy toured them through parts of the basin. We had the flyover with Senator Bennett and Camille Tootin and others at the federal level. That was very successful. We want to make sure that as we see these opportunities come up, that the EA team in 2023 is taking advantage as much as possible of these opportunities to really get the message out at all levels and educate people within the Colorado River Basin about what the reality here on the West Slope for us is really like, because as we saw, for those of you who are on the lower basin tour, it's a completely different world down there, and they just, a lot of people still don't have an understanding of what we're dealing with living within the hydrology up here. So making sure the EA team is educating people effectively around those issues and then leveraging any relationship opportunities with electeds and in Zane's position, really making sure that he's supported to make sure that those folks have the information they need to make decisions that are good for the West Slope. We have our quarterly Water with Your Lunch webinar series that's still been very successful as well. We have one that's coming up in February. I believe it's locked in for February 15th. Yeah. And that one is a continuation of our popular Know Your Snow Water with Your Lunch. It's the one that we do at the beginning of each calendar year in the winter season. It really is one of the few opportunities we have to target the recreation community on that platform. So we're going to be talking with some folks from the Colorado Avalanche Info Center and talking about snowpack and hydrology. And we get really great attendance with that event usually, but we're planning on having Again, 4 Water with Your Lunch webinars is our goal for 2023 after Know Your Snow. And then working with the Community Funding Partnership, we really, a goal this year is now that the Community Funding Partnership is really up and running and doing really well in terms of programming and getting grants out the door, getting projects up and running. We want to make sure that we're elevating that message of CFP. So we're not introducing the program anymore as a new thing to people, but we're talking about the successes that are happening within the program and how it's really a way that the River District is walking the talk and adapting, and our water users are innovating and finding new ways to find solutions to this big issue. So making sure as we do stump speeches at State of the Rivers, as we work on our annual water seminar programming and do other outreach events, that we're really integrating the Community Funding Partnership messaging in a more intentional way than we had before. And then finally, digital communications, making sure our social media activity, again, make sure we're maximizing and increasing our number of followers, but also looking at those demographics, making sure we're taking advantage of geo-targeting and boosting on social media to reach all the people that we can across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which are the platforms that we use primarily, making sure that the information put out there is educational, that there is opportunity for deeper issue engagement on social media. It's hard to get attention spans on social media. It's just the culture of that platform, but making sure we're offering content that is catchy and in a way that people will want to dig in deeper. And then using, of course, social media to amplify our actions and policies in a timely manner when those opportunities come up. It's a way to use our own megaphone to reach our constituents and others. So using social media to the best of our abilities. And Lindsay's done a fantastic job this last year of really building out a calendar and regular posts around different issues and focusing certain days on the Community Funding Partnership, certain days on our local ag producers, and telling those stories, elevating those voices. And then making sure that, you know, we have the new website that launched. That was another success for the EA team last year, was launching that newly designed website, which hopefully will be even better for engagement. And it has been a great tool already for the Community Funding Partnership to get information out there around the accelerator grants and ways that people can learn more, to schedule calls with, excuse me, our Community Funding Partnership staff to do initial interviews. Lindsay again has been working closely with the CFP team to really make sure that those pages on our website are accessible and understandable and have the tools that that potential Community Funding Partnership grantees and current grantees need. Oh, Steph, can you, oh, I lost the, here we go. So in terms of actual messaging, the INO packet contains 5 fact sheets, or not fact sheets, but handouts that include a list based on thematic content for the main talking points that we use at the River District when we're talking to the press, when we're talking at outreach events to our constituents. And we work these up so that these can be your one-stop shop. You can have these at your fingertips. You can print them out. You can have them with you, so that if you are representing the River District out in the world and get questions, you know, whether it's on big river issues, whether it's on ag, whether it's on municipal water issues, that you have these talking points ready. And we'll also be using these to help further train our staff who aren't within the EA team to make sure that they're on the same page. So we're really sending out a unified message from the River District as a whole, from board, from staff at all levels, so that whatever message we're speaking about, we're doing it in one voice. So I will send these out as separate attachments to you. Also, they're not included in the INO packet, so you have them at your fingertips to print out at your leisure, or we can print them out for you here and you can take them with you. But I think these will be a great resource for everyone on board and staff to really have our messages just ready to go. And then as we're out in the world, so as we're planning for the ways that we're using outreach events and communications tools in the coming year, really stressing our mission. And we did this very intentionally when we were out at State of the River and at our seminar last year, but really emphasizing our dual mission as both a West Slope focused and interstate level of work, and making sure people know that we're working very actively on all fronts to protect West Slope water users and be advocates for the state of Colorado's entitlement to Colorado River water. So making sure that in all of our events, we're highlighting that people know what we're doing at this interstate level. We're working on pulling, as these headlines come up, making sure that people understand what's happening in the lower basin. Andy's done a great job in the last year in his outreach and presentations, and the EA team as well, with making sure people are really understanding that issue of lower basin overuse, and of the accounting issues with the Bureau and reservoir operations and issues that we see should be, fixes that would help the problem immensely. And that's really what we've been hitting home with in 2022. We want to keep doing that, but we also want to make sure that people within our district and in the upper basin understand, we live within the hydrology, we're a part of the system. And in addition to those actions, the lower basin and the Bureau need to take, that everyone needs to change and adapt and learn to live with less, because that is the climate that is upon us. So making sure we're really hitting that message home as well. And then again, showing how we're walking the talk on that level, so that we're not just saying, we all need to do our part, but we're really showing what the River District is doing. And that includes the community funding partnership in a big way. Again, we've been working closely with their team to help with presentations, and we created actually a communication strategic plan specifically for the CFP and EA team working collaboratively together. So how can we elevate the CFP message, take home new messages, like I said, where it's beyond just, this is the community funding partnership, this is new, engage, but it's more of looking at the people and projects that exist within the program, that the CFP program is a partnership, that there's trust involved with the grantees that we fund and the projects that they're completing, and then making sure that there are the funding that we do are leveraging those large scale resources. And so working with the infrastructure team to make sure that again, that information is getting disseminated, that it's not just community funding partnership money at stake here, it's those big federal dollars, it's state money, it's other things that our constituents can use to really adapt and innovate. And so we have been doing some strategic collaboration with some external parties. We've been working with the Western Landowners Alliance in the last few months, and they have a print magazine called On Land, as well as a podcast. We were able to get our Upper Gunnison restoration project from the community funding partnership. We completed a video on that front for that project specifically in those voices. And we got that story in the On Land magazine, which reaches at least 1,000 landowners across the Colorado River Basin in the West. We also had Andy was on their podcast to talk about the Big River issues and the work the River District is doing. So we elevated that message even further beyond just our constituency. And we plan to do another pairing of a CFP Voices story, another project that we've funded in the coming year, and have that again elevated through the Western Landowners Alliance, and also work with them on an event where we can leverage some earned media, get media out to a project that is almost completed or completed, ideally this fall, and bring media there to really, spread that message even further about what we're doing, and also have it be a way that other landowners can come and have it be a peer-to-peer educational event. So kind of multi-purpose collaborative work here with Western Landowners Alliance and CFP and the external affairs team. And then we have, hopefully all of you got the new annual report for the community funding partnership. This is something that the EA team has been working closely again with the CFP team on, but we think it's a really great resource for people to see just how much has been going on with the community funding partnership and what we've been doing, what we've been funding in the last year plus 2 years that we've been, the program's been alive. The print version, we will be making sure is in the hands of electeds. We'll be bringing it to our State of the River events and making sure that our constituents can see and have in their hands what we've been doing and what opportunities that they might be able to engage on. We'll also have this on our website and do a full launch for the digital version as well.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, this was definitely a fun project to put together, and just really a great, I mean, the CFP program has, as we've always been saying from our end, a great way to show the positive things that are happening and really be a counterpoint to all the gloom and doom and heavy messaging that comes with all the Colorado River issues today. So we hope it'll be a great resource and we look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Hey, Marielle,
Yes.
is this, you said you sent this out, is this something you sent by mail or is it just a link on the website at this point? I haven't seen it, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, Taylor, we just got these printed last week, so we just got them in hand. We have not put the digital version on the website yet, but we will do that as soon as the board meeting is concluded. So we'll send one, we can send one to you directly today.
Okay, thanks.
So that's the end from my end of our presentation, but the rest of the team here and opening it up for questions and discussion about what we're doing. Maybe.
So when the other states came to Colorado, what did they say about our reservoirs? You know, we're in a drought.
Yeah, that'd be a question for Andy, because I was not on that tour, but I mean, certainly from what I heard, they were very surprised by how different our infrastructure was to theirs.
We lobbied pretty hard. You may remember Andy telling this story at the last board meeting, but the Colorado River Board of California, we found out after a trip was planned that they were going to be coming to Grand Junction and then driving to Paradox Valley and onward to Moab. And I think that the argument that Andy made to their director was that we were missing the most important part of the tour. If you don't see the way that we administer and distribute our resources, point in being here. We were able, with Amy's help and with Andy's lobbying, to make some changes to their itinerary, and we got them down to the Padre to show them a bit of that project. I think it was successful in that we were able to at least alter their itinerary a bit, but it was a reminder for us as a team that we have an opportunity, and I think that flyover with Senator Bennett, the Deputy Secretary from Interior, Tommy Boudreau, and Bureau of Reclamation Commissioner Tootin was a better example of the success that we can have when we have the time to craft an itinerary, show folks on the ground and from the air the complexity of our system. I think that's something we all saw on the lower basin tours. The way that they divert is pretty straightforward. The number of turnouts are minimal compared to projects like the Ankh or the Grand Valley or others. And so I think that's a real goal for us this coming year, is to start showing decision makers and stakeholders from other states and the lower basin exactly how we do business here.
How can we do that in a representative fashion of all 15 counties?
It's a good question.
That becomes more challenging. I mean, as on a
Yep.
tour, it's hard to get people to stick around to see the entire area.
I'll be very frank. There is still a continued lack of representation across all 15 counties. Fair and equitable, reasonable, however you want to say it. Because I understand what they got going on the Untitled. I've toured the Grand Valley. But you're looking at the Yampa River, you're looking at the White River, you're looking at some of these other rivers. Boy, they ain't even nothing close to that. If they were, you would have your tax base probably double.
Well, with this tour in particular, what Zane's talking about is the interstate tour, that the California water user tour. I can just tell you from talking to them both on the tour and then seeing them at multiple meetings afterwards, including our own tour. Some of them were utterly shocked by how we administer water, how hard it is, how we in fact administer pre-compact water, turn it off. They had no idea that any of that existed. Our since 1969, the fact that our groundwater has been deemed tributary to the surface absolutely blew their mind. That our state was that far ahead of California and Arizona on those issues. And so it's a really important issue. The EA team and I will be working on bringing Central Arizona projects staff and board up here. We utilized the Uncompahgre for a couple of reasons. One, because of where their tour was going, it was easy to hijack. But I want to be clear, we didn't just use the federal project. We went up into Uray County so they could see
Good.
private individual ditches and they could talk to. I mean, I brought my old buddies out of the woods and had them join us on the bus and explain how their water had been turned off and how that it happens all the time, especially during the last 22 years, and they don't have water and there's nothing they can do about it. And they've had to deherd their cattle and just explaining that from a one-on-one perspective was very powerful. Now, do we want to get them up to the White, up to the Yampa, even further up the main stem? Absolutely. It's just we've got to figure out ways to use their resources.
But at least you got the storyline there as well, to where the storyline is associated with some of these other.
Yeah, right.
But you're also got areas here to where that, gravity don't work. You have to make gravity. There's complexities to where you're adding electricity to make that gravity work for your system. That's a whole new ball game as well for what it takes to be an irrigator in some of these areas.
No, I agree completely. I do think that work is really important with our interstate folks. For instance, the flyover with Commissioner Tootin, she after we landed, pulled me aside and said, I really want to get back out here this spring and see the Grand Valley and see the Uncompahgre on the ground, because those are her projects, they're Bureau projects. I said, great, we'll make it happen. She and I have talked about that 3 times since then, and we're going to go visit her on Monday or Tuesday, I think, Monday, and in DC, and we'll be setting that up. So these are the kind of things that the EA team has been instrumental in helping with. And I want to say, although she's not here, Amy Moyer was phenomenal in twisting the arm of the California River Board to actually let me on the bus and hijack it. So it was good.
But if I may just go back to your original question, Director Vandenberg, I think one tool we have at our disposal and makes it easier to see an entire basin is a tour from the air. We have the ability to do flyovers at little to no expense to the district. There are NGO partners that will fly for natural resource and conservation purposes that we've used, and without much influence on the messaging or any influence on the messaging and the product that we want to deliver. So I think that's a tool we can use to be able to reach some of the more remote areas of the district, like Rio Blanco County.
I'd also like to express perhaps a conversation with the local community college with an aviation program that I know is willing to work and serve with local districts, special districts, government bodies that are there for the benefit of the region. So I'd be happy to facilitate a conversation with you and Dr. Lisa Jones.
I do want to say, I see.
Taylor's got a hand up too, sorry.
There's a couple hands up, actually.
Well, I thank you. I was just gonna suggest the bigger picture that you all are touching on is this need for tours, and this kind of falls into a gap, in my opinion. I mean, we've got the Water Education Foundation of California does a lower basin tour. WECO does a tour of Western Colorado, but they don't really open it up to people outside the state. And I think, to me, tours have always been an incredible learning opportunity. And I think, as we saw when we went to the lower basin, it's eye-opening. And so if we could, maybe that's something for this year, for this fall, to literally target the folks in the lower basin and invite CAP and Southern Nevada and all the folks. So I don't know. I think we could fill a niche that no one else is filling right now.
So I'd like to have a little discussion. During that entire presentation, you mention the board was mentioned once. And so I'm new to this committee, but there's a lot of times as a board member, I find out that somebody's at the editorial board, or you're down in my county's got your heaviest population. And I've never even gotten a call. And people don't know, a good example yesterday was John Justman. Now, Justman didn't have a up-to-date situation of the river district presence, but he did bring up a good point. And I was thinking, I'd like to send a joint letter from the river district, myself, to our irrigation companies to say, hey, send this website or send this mailing list, the 6,000 people thing we've got. Say, why don't you send that out to all your membership? You could double that very quickly. You reach a lot of people in the valley through those irrigation and the drainage canal too, by the way, which is going to have an impact on the environment and stuff like that. But I don't know to the extent to which the district, the management team don't really pull in board members, but
We do,
and I'll tell you, I went to one of them. I wasn't even introduced at the event. And I thought, man, not that I care, but it's not my ego. I'm just saying, I really don't know what's going on. He goes, aren't you on the district? I said, well, yeah, but some of this is new to me, you know, and I think your board, you've got 15 leading members, maybe 14 myself. But you got a great resource out there in these counties. And when you come into the county, I don't know the water better than anybody in this room, but I certainly know the county better than anybody in this room, but I've never called on. So, and I don't know, that may be intentional. I don't know what.
no,
I'd
in
like to
fact,
see more reach out to your board members.
Yeah.
Be involved with it.
I think you make an excellent point, and I think to the extent that we haven't done that with you or others, we need to do that whenever we're in your county. And I honestly, Scott thought we had been, so we'll talk and make sure we do in the future. And I think your suggestion to reach a letter to the irrigation districts about our outreach efforts would be a really good one. I think it's a great idea. I think that maybe even developing something they can slide in their bills that would give the folks the link to our website and be able to register for that website, which is great for the newsletter.
Now, to your credit, last year, you came down and we met with, and we had 4 attendants, but we made a lot of effort.
Right.
And I could do a lot of that as a commission because I had the resources. Now I don't, I can't use the county resources now. But so you've reached out, but I just felt, and when we did our state of the county or whatever, I didn't find that out. I mean, the dates, I kind of looked them up on my own and then thought, well, I guess I'm supposed to go to this. And then I did get kind of a short notice.
That's our bad, Director McNiss.
And I think
Apologies for
was
that.
the event there. I'd like to say, hey,
No, we a note to our
Yes.
staff, we should always be introducing our directors. Like,
We
it is our
have been
practice,
making
so if we missed that, I assure you it wasn't intentional and it was an oversight.
the point being is you've got 15 people on your board that can
Mhm.
maybe set up meetings to help you or talk to you about a few key people. I just like to be more help to the staff without interfering with your day-to-day operation. I don't want to be a day-to-day operation.
No, then you can see how messy they are.
But like a letter, I like to be on a joint letter and to the respective other districts, same thing, saying, hey, here's a key thing. Here's how your river district can help you put this out on the mailing list.
Yeah.
And it lets Rhine's River District, if their board member is, is involved. And adjustments out there, we never see anybody, but I said, well, John, but he did have a point. Again, the beauty of Mesa County, we can hit a lot of the key people through those irrigation canal companies, or at least their leadership team. And we can also keep them from complaining.
Yeah, well, maybe at least mute
Well,
it.
yeah,
I don't know if you can keep
mitigate,
them.
mitigate. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director. We appreciate it. And we're definitely going to make a more concerted effort to engage with board in the coming year. So thank you.
And on a deal like that, but send down and say, meet your board. Here's your board members and contact information or something like that.
So I'm assuming that we don't take past directors off of some of the mailing lists. So, whether John's actively into his computer, I mean, that could be too, that, it's not as important now. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think just from talking to past board members, that you run into somewhere, they seem very appreciative. information that they are still getting. But I did want to say one other thing. You mentioned several times arid Colorado. And that's not a topic that people assume with Colorado, so I'm glad you're saying that. And I think they're shocked to see that, you know, we're in the mountains and may or may not have snow, but it's very arid and yeah, those other states, you know, they're in a drought and they're consuming so much water. And we have a crop of native grass and they're trying to increase their crops, which is great. We all would like to, well, we'd like to see a crop. So I'm glad that they came up and I'm glad we're thinking about doing more tours.
If I may. I do want to say, this EA team and our prior EA teams, for the size of our district, does an amazing job. And one of the things I continually hear as I'm in the interstate arena, whether it's the head of communications for the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, who I sat next to at a lunch at CRUA, or the head of Metropolitan's communications department, or folks even in Oregon who I've talked to, are just astounded that our district only has 22 employees and that we have the voice that we have throughout the basin. And it is, you know, if you look at our 6,000 people on that mailing list, I'd be willing to bet a third of them are from out of state. And they turn to us for information because they can't get it elsewhere. We need to continue to improve. So all of your suggestions are always welcome, but this is one of the things, I mean, one of the mantras this team and all of us have is how do we do it better? But I just want to recognize that this team is doing an amazing job. I mean, the Bureau of Reclamation, literally the woman says, how do you do that? Because we really need some help. Can you help us? I said, well, you definitely need help, but I don't think it's something we can do, you know?
First year. Clockwise to close the valve.
There you go. I like
Righty
it.
tighty.
I like it.
You know, I think your team does a terrific job, and don't take my comments wrong. It's just here's an additional tool.
Yeah, we can always do better.
But it is terrific. And most people think we're like the Denver Water Board. We got lots of employees.
Right.
You'd be amazed how few employees we have and still stay in the race.
Well, and there's still some governments that think you run awful fat, especially from a small government.
Yep.
And it's not a jab, but I hear that. So,
Well, and
Well,
that
maybe
is
we ought to
something that's-
probably say how many people we have a whole lot more often. And we might also make the point that, you know, our staff isn't equal to the number of attorneys Denver Water has.
Yeah.
That gives people some kind of a picture that, hey, wait, we got 22 people, they got 35 attorneys. Come on. But we're kicking ass too.
and that's what most don't understand, the diversity that goes on. So,
And Elton, we see that the need for balance and
oh yeah.
yeah, we recognize we represent a diversity of constituents and governments from tiny little municipalities and big cities like Grand Junction. So.
And make sure that when we talk about the number of employees, that we're not committing to stay at that level.
No, in fact, that's the next item on the agenda.
I saw that.
We've got to grow.
We're gonna grow government. Yeah,
Hate to do that, but
we're gonna grow government.
Has anybody got anything else here?
I just wanted to add, make sure, we do have the dates for the State of the River. It's on the website. I think it came out in the memo.
and we'll send those out
And
to
we'll
all the
resend them.
directors.
They've gone out already, but the calendar holds are there. I think I've actually, Rangeley's the only one I haven't logged in a venue yet. I haven't gotten in touch with Old Bayside.
All right.
But I know the date we're going for.
If we send calendar on staff, we send a calendar invite to all of our staff to put it permanently on their calendar. We use Outlook. Would that help some directors if we send that to you? And
Outlook is a very handy tool.
okay, there you go.
Noted.
So if we can send, and I would ask our EA team, when we're going to be in these counties at public events, notify the directors, ask them if they can be there, ask them to help us. So
That'd be great. And like, there may, not every meeting that the staff, but if you're gonna meet with the editorial board or Sentinel or TV or something.
I
like
don't
that.
think we've met with the editorial board without you. We haven't done that since you've been on our board, as far as I know. Like,
And I'm happy to,
Okay. We will be doing that, so. Okay,
I guess we can adjourn.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.